Welcome to Mickey, Marvel, and More, Disney news, commentary, and opinion. From theme parks to Thanos and from Skywalker to Skyliner, my family and I will discuss it all. So let's go!
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hello, Mark here, and welcome to the second part of our very special Boots on the Ground, Mickey, Marvel, and More Walt Disney World Spring Break Trip Report. We've got more to talk about and more things to do in Walt Disney World, and you're going to be here for the entire ride with us, so stick around.
Oh, wait a second, please don't go.
4 combos, extra bacon on the side, 2 chili cheese samplers, a basket of liver and onion rings, a catch of the day, and a steak cut in the shape of a trout. You got all that, honey?
3 liquors wearing pants, plate of hot air, basket of grandma's breakfast, and change the bull to a gill. Got it.
Okay, so after being full the other night and not being able to muster the strength to record, we're going to talk about this topic right now. We ate for the very first time at a brand new restaurant here on Walt Disney World property called Steakhouse 71. It's located on the first floor of the Contemporary Resort in the location that used to be occupied by a restaurant called Waves, which was just sort of a generic bar and grill type location. But Steakhouse 71 is really neat. Obviously, it's a steakhouse. The interior is decorated with maps and photographs and all kinds of bits of memorabilia dedicated to the construction of Walt Disney World in 1971. And now we're all going to share our thoughts about what we thought about the place and what we thought about our food. So let's go to Laura first for her review of her food and the restaurant.
So I thought, first of all, talking about the ambiance, it was a little brighter in there than I would have expected for a steakhouse.
Yeah, I agree.
But that being said, one of the things I liked about it being a bit brighter is that you could see all of the photographs on the walls from opening day or construction of the park in 1971, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably why they left the lights that bright, but who knows?
As you might expect with a restaurant named Steakhouse 71, the menu was primarily steaks, chops, and of course they had fish and chicken. I got the fish entree that was on the menu. It was salmon with risotto and pureed butternut squash. It was very, very good. I would not say that it was outstanding, but it was very, very good. What was outstanding was the dessert, and I'll let somebody else talk about that.
All right, Zach, so what did you have and what did you think about the restaurant?
So, I'll start the same way you guys did, speaking to the atmosphere
Sure.
of Steakhouse 71. I appreciated the light tone it sort of had. It wasn't like necessarily like deep reverence for the opening days of Walt Disney World. It was more like, let's celebrate, let's be fun and lighthearted. And it made the place feel more informal overall, which is nice. I would prefer to not have to dress up in a suit and tie to eat somewhere at a theme park.
Right.
As for the food, I got a New York strip steak. It was very good. I don't think I have anything particularly special to say about it. It was a good steak, and I'm not someone who gets steak very often. It's not my favorite thing in the world. So this is probably going to be my steak for the year. And I was quite satisfied with it. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, Parker and I both got the filet medallions, which were cooked very well and seasoned very well. I believe he got mashed potatoes. I got some grilled mushrooms, and I believe I got some baby broccolini to go along with mine, and it was really good as well. Another thing they offered on the menu, which was kind of interesting to me for a steakhouse, because usually in a steakhouse, the steak is supposed to be sort of the show, but they had a list for each order. You had to choose a sauce. So they had the Steakhouse 71 sauce, they had some sort of a garlic butter sauce, they had a ranch sauce, they had a salsa verde sauce, which I thought was kind of weird, and there was one other sauce that's escaping me. I can't remember what it was, but I just found it odd that they gave you a sauce as a choice, because a steak is supposed to be good on its own. That's the whole point of a steak. But I think all of us chose the Steakhouse 71 sauce, and it was fine. It was sort of a mashup of a Heinz 57 A1 steak sauce. I didn't use it a lot. I just tasted it to see what it was like. My steak was fine. Parker's steak was fine. We had read a lot of reviews saying that this was, better food than the California Grill. I think we all pretty much disagree on that one, wouldn't you say, honey?
Yes, I thought that the food was very good. I would not say it was excellent, and I would say that our past visits to California Grill, the food quality and choices were in the excellent category.
Yeah, I think that one of the things they did for Steakhouse 71 is made it a very simple menu.
Yes.
You had a choice of about 5 or 6 steaks and then fish and chicken options.
Before I forget about it, I also wanted to briefly mention the appetizers we got.
Oh, that's right.
They were also very good. We ordered 2 appetizers to split between the 4 of us. We got a thing of crab cakes.
Which was good.
They were very good. I didn't have a whole lot of that, but you guys seem to think it was pretty good. And then we also got this sort of pull-apart brioche bread. It wasn't quite like pull-apart type of
right,
thing.
You had to cut it.
Yeah, you still had to cut it, but it was, it was very good. It was salted bread with a whipped butter. It was not going to be bad.
Yeah, and it came with another sauce that we weren't super fans of. It was sort of a, what would you say? It was a garlicky tomato sauce.
Yeah, it was a tomato jam on top, but there was a thick layer of garlic at the bottom. And if you didn't mix it, which is what we did.
Yeah, we failed to mix it.
Yeah, then you end up with this fantastic top layer of tomato jam, and then you're left with garlic with a little bit of tomato in it.
And it was not very tasty that way. Yeah, we made the mistake. And I think that we are really burying the lead here. The best part of the entire meal was the dessert.
They had you had a creme brulee.
Which was very good. It was a caramel creme brulee, and it was much larger than I expected, but it was just a very good creme brulee.
And meanwhile, myself, Mom, and Parker all got, we were originally going to get 1 slice each until we were talked out of it by our waitress, who said to only get 2 to split between the 3 of us, and she was correct. We got the 15, yes, that is 15, 15-layer chocolate cake. Very good. All 15 layers were too much for the 3 of us to handle.
And the 15 layers, they did it that way as a dedication to the 15 stories of the Contemporary Resort.
There was a chocolate ganache icing, and then the 15 layers were made up of a chocolate cake, a very deep, really rich chocolate cake, and then a chocolate cream that was infused with Jack Daniels.
Yeah, I think we all had a really good experience there. I would recommend Steakhouse 71. We will probably go back at some point, but it is not a replacement for the California Grill.
No, totally different vibe, totally different menu.
All right. Hey, Future Mark here. Before we get any further into the second half of our Walt Disney World Spring Break Trip Report, we received a lot of messages and questions after our first episode about the shocking lack of Parker in episode 1 of this trip report. Just to let you know, Parker was present. He was not being held hostage in the restroom. He participated in the first recording and then decided he didn't want to participate in anymore. He either wanted to nap, or he wanted to swim, or felt like he just didn't have anything else to offer. So don't worry, Parker's still with us. He will be present in future Mickey, Marvel, and More episodes. He just chose not to participate this time. But to be fair, Parker is a bit of a celebrity, and his social calendar is very full these days, so we should consider ourselves lucky if he ever graces us with his presence. And now, back to the Spring Break Trip Report. Okay, we spent the early morning and afternoon in the Magic Kingdom today, and I will throw to Zach for today's traffic report.
So this one was a bit weird, I would say. It was our crowd level was projected to be a 6. Magic Kingdom has been pretty low this week. And I felt upon entering the park, and for context, we spent most of the day in Tomorrowland today. And Main Street and Tomorrowland were both packed. Now, to be fair, we were there less than an hour after opening, so things were still going to be pretty congested, but it certainly felt like a high-end 6 encroaching on 7.
Knocking on the door of a 7.
Yeah, so it was pretty crowded. But once you got over to Frontierland, where we did go for a little while, the crowd thinned out and there was no one there. There were characters kind of free form walking around.
Right.
Which is not, reflective of a super high crowded day. And then when we left today, it wasn't super crowded. So I guess it ended up being a 6, maybe, possibly even like a high-end 5. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I don't know. Crowd level was a little all over the place today. I guess it just depended on the time of day and where you were.
Right. And so this morning we had a lightning lane that we had paid for Tron, and Tron was another great experience. I think we all had fun on Tron, as always. It's a great ride, although a very short ride. And if I had to wait the 81 minutes for the standby line that people were waiting today, and then I rode the very brief Tron ride, I might be slightly irritated. But while we were over there in Tomorrowland, we went back to an old classic, the Carousel of Progress, or as we like to call it, Shut Up, Sarah, and Make Me a Sandwich. Because the old man in the show is very much part of the patriarchy, and we want to take him down. However, in today's performance, we got stuck in the 1920s 3 times in a row.
We watched the entire 1920s section, as Mark said, 3 times. We watched it through once. It got to the song at the end when the theater should have rotated. It did not rotate. The cast member came on and said, there's been a technical difficulty, so you're going to have to watch this scene again. We watched it again. There was a glitch in the soundtrack towards the end. Cast member came on, said, there's been a glitch. You're going to have to listen to it again. We listened to it a 3rd time and then finally got to move on to the 1940s.
Yeah, thank goodness there's a light on the front porch, Sarah, so you can sew in the outside in the heat.
A highlight for me today was visiting the new DVC lounge in Frontierland. The name is McKim's Mile House.
Yeah, do we know what that reference was from, or was it just sort of they made it up for the show or for the attraction itself?
I think it is a made-up name, but mile houses were a real thing.
Yeah, so this is a DVC only thing, and we'll just touch on it briefly just to let people know what it's all about. Essentially, it's a place where DVC members can go, take a rest, get a free drink, get a free snack. This one is particularly small compared to the one over at Epcot, so you had to get in line to get in to begin with, and then once they hit capacity, they started doing a waiting list, and then once the waiting list was full, the rest of the day is pretty much done for the Mile House. Yeah.
For those who are wanting a grander idea of where this is within the park, if any of you are familiar with the old layout of Frontierland that included the Frontierland Shootin' Arcade, this new DVC lounge, which opened just last week, is that correct?
Yes.
It occupies the former space of the Frontierland Shootin' Arcade. So
yes.
That's where it is.
Right. Yeah, it's right under the breezeway between Frontierland and Adventureland. So if you're coming from Adventureland, you turn left and it's right there. So it was a kind of a neat new experience that we got to have.
Really neat decor there.
Yeah.
And the snack offerings were fantastic. As usual, there were Coca-Cola Freestyle machines. There were Keurig coffee machines, so you could have either a hot beverage or a cold beverage. And the variety of snacks during the time that we were there was pretty extensive. You had graham crackers, Lay's potato chips, pretzels, Cheez-Its, chocolate chip cookies, the ones that they have with the kids' meals here in the Disney parks, and granola bars.
Yeah, and now we're spending a little time in the afternoon here back at Bay Lake Tower, sitting out on the lanai looking over the swimming pool. Tonight we're going to be going back to studios, and we will eventually have a review for a restaurant we've not been to in a while, but we're going to leave that for a little bit of a cliffhanger.
What are you doing?
I'm just showing how you can trip if you walk with your glasses on.
Will you stop this foolishness?
What foolishness would you like to see?
Will you get out of here?
Yes!
Well, we left you with a bit of a cliffhanger about what restaurant we were going to go back to that we hadn't been to in a while. Well, that restaurant was 50's Primetime Cafe in Disney's Hollywood Studios. We have not been there in, gosh, probably 7, 8, maybe more years.
I think it's been longer than that.
Yeah, I think you may be right. Basically, the hook of this joint is it is themed to a 1950s house and a 1950s kitchen with formica and black and white TVs everywhere, and the waiters and waitresses act like your cousins, aunts, and uncles. And you can't have your elbows on the table, and you need to clean your plate, and you need to eat your green vegetables first, and it's usually a lot of fun, and it was a pretty good time last night. And I've also got to say the food was really, really good. So, Laura, what did you eat, and what did you think about the restaurant last night?
You and I both had the meatloaf, and
Yes,
it was excellent. It was really, really good.
very good.
And then we had the hummingbird cake for dessert, which was also excellent.
Yes.
The boys both had fried chicken, which was also really good. We had a sample of it.
Yes.
And it was darn good fried chicken, really good.
We also had onion ring appetizers, and I had a salad. So what did you think about the place? We already heard what you ate. You ate fried chicken. What did you think about the restaurant? I know you are not usually a fan of the kind of restaurant that has a lot of interaction where people are going to be pointing and singling you out. So how did you think it went, and did you have a good time?
I ended up having a very good time. Our waiter played the game, but not too hard, so it was just the right, balance for me. It's a great vibe in there, and I love the aesthetic of all the 50s TV shows. You got all the little monitors where you're watching things. It's like you're in someone's kitchen.
Right.
Parker and I both also had chocolate shakes.
Oh, yes.
These were homemade, very thick, very, very, very high quality ice cream. It's the kind of ice cream where it's served as a milkshake, but it is simply too thick to consume as such, so they give you a spoon.
Yeah, I would say that I give the restaurant very high marks. We probably won't go back for a while because I think it's sort of a sometimes restaurant, but it's definitely a very good sit-down restaurant to enjoy at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
And I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the cocktails that we had
Oh,
there.
that's right.
Zach and I and Mark all had cocktails, all of them very, very good.
Yes, I had a roasted marshmallow old-fashioned.
And Zach and I each had, I don't remember the name of it, but it was a mixture of Fireball and rum chata.
And it was pretty decent, wasn't it?
Really good.
Yeah, my marshmallow old-fashioned, it was roasted marshmallows and they melted into the old-fashioned, and it was just so very good. A great restaurant, highly recommended by Mickey Marvel and more.
Welcome aboard, TTA travelers. Whether you're a humanoid, a robot, or an alien passenger, we hope you enjoy your trip along Tomorrowland Transit Authority's Super Skyway.
We just wrapped up our last full day here in Walt Disney World, and we're hanging around the pool at Bay Lake Tower enjoying Mickey pretzels with plastic cheese. It never gets any better than that. We spent our morning and most of the early afternoon at Epcot, and we'll go to Zach for one last traffic report.
So, as I think I mentioned prior about Animal Kingdom, Epcot also functions a little weird when it comes to crowd levels. So Epcot was originally predicted to be a 7 today, I think, and then it was upgraded to an 8.
Yes.
Though being there, you can't really tell. I feel like you can tell when Epcot is very empty, and then you can tell when Epcot is very crowded. If it is anything in between, it just feels like a normal day.
Right.
And I felt like it didn't feel like an 8. Epcot is just so big. It's so spread out. People go everywhere. So we spent most of the day walking around World Showcase. And I really don't think it was too crowded. I thought it was very normal. It felt, I guess, technically speaking, less than an 8. Maybe it was more heavy in Future World. The lands formerly known as Future World.
Correct.
But either way, it did not feel too bad at all today.
Yeah, I didn't think it felt like an 8 either. I think the crowds in general, all of the predictions have been a little off, except for Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom has been pretty light for the whole week that we've been here, and that's just sort of an interesting hiccup to me that it was lighter than all the rest, and it's sort of the premier park. But you know what? Studios is really getting all the traffic right now with, Galaxy's Edge, and you've got Tower of Terror and all the other things going on there, and it seems to be the most crowded park these days. But in general, most of the predictions were a little off. So before we pack up the bags and head to the airport and pray that Breeze Airlines is on time, let's all give our final thoughts about the trip. Maybe something you really enjoyed, something maybe you didn't enjoy, maybe a favorite food, just your general impression of what you thought this vacation was all about. Honey, you go first.
So for me, the two standouts this week, one was the weather. This is, without a doubt, the best weather we have ever had at spring break.
For a very long time.
It's not been too hot. It's not been too cold. It has literally been that Goldilocks just right all week long. And boy, has that made a difference in our enjoyment of the parks.
Yes.
I would say my second favorite thing has been the Flower and Garden Festival at Epcot. Epcot is a really cool park any time of year, but I think Flower and Garden Festival is my favorite time simply because the flower displays are stunning. The food booths are always something different and a lot of fun, and that has been one of the highlights of the trip for me.
Zach, what do you have? What was some of your favorite moments or lowlights, if you had any, and maybe a favorite food? What were your general impressions this week?
I just felt like this was a very well-rounded trip. I felt like we got everything we wanted to get done and a little bit extra here and there.
Yeah.
So, for example, yesterday was a bit of a surprise. We hit 3 out of the 4 theme parks in one day.
Yeah, we haven't done that in a very long time.
Yeah, we spent most of our morning and early afternoon at Magic Kingdom. Then we went over to Hollywood Studios for dinner. And then took the Skyline over to Epcot to see Luminous, and then headed home. And while not trying to be too much of a downer, this trip had an edge of sentimentality and nostalgia to me, because I was really trying to soak up a lot of the things that I may not get to do again, like experiencing Tom Sawyer Island and the riverboat. I paid extra attention to that, getting to see Muppet Vision again, walking around Dino Land and doing everything there is to do there. So I felt like for me, I had a real focus on, like, let's really soak in the things that are on their way out and make the most of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in general, the weather was beautiful this week. I felt like that we really had a great time, and it was a really good, fun family time. It was just really, it was just a lot of fun. However, it was a little sad to say, I guess melancholy is more of the words, to say goodbye to Tom Sawyer Island, the riverboat, Dinosaur, Muppet Vision. But all of these things, hopefully, will be replaced with something brand new that's going to give us something new to look forward to, that's going to be just, if not more, exciting. And I really am looking forward to what's coming next. I mean, so in Magic Kingdom, we're going to lose Tom Sawyer Island, we're going to lose the riverboat, but we're going to gain this whole Cars area. And I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but I really am excited to see what they come up with. Over in Animal Kingdom, The whole Dinoland area is going to be replaced with a South American area with the focus on Encanto and Indiana Jones, which I absolutely love as a franchise, so I'm very excited to see what they do there. I think my biggest sad is probably Muppet Vision. Last project Jim Henson worked on, it's going to be rough to see that one go. However, the Muppets are going to reappear when they add them to Rock and Roller Coaster, and fingers crossed, at some point, they may reincorporate that Muppet Vision show into that theater behind where Rock and Roller Coaster is, because they have said they're not done with Muppet Vision, and they want to find some way to preserve it. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that my absolute favorite meal was last night's meal at the Primetime Cafe. That meatloaf was incredible. Everything was just so good, and we've had a lot of really good food this trip, and we've had a little bit of so-so counter service food, but in general, we had a lot of good food. We had a really good time, and it's going to be hard to say goodbye. Thanks for being here with us on this boots on the ground spring break Walt Disney World trip report. And hopefully, if everybody seems to enjoy this format, we might do it again someday. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us for our final episode of our very special Mickey, Marvel, and More Boots on the Ground Spring Break Walt Disney World Trip Report. Be sure to check the show notes for links to all of our socials. And if you want to leave us a comment or a suggestion, or maybe possibly links to a good therapist, send us a message at Mickey, Marvel, and More, all one word, at gmail.com. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, my name is Mark, and this has been Mickey, Marvel, and More. If you didn't, oh, come on, who am I kidding? Of course you did, because we're in Walt Disney World!